The third step in controlling relapses is prevention. Using the 6 factors we'll discuss in this video, you can reduce the number and severity of your relapses. The first factor is pacing. Pacing. In our experience, this is the single most important approach for bringing stability, regaining control, and minimizing relapses. Pacing is not a single strategy, but rather a lifestyle that involves many strategies, as explained in other videos. Pacing involves finding your limits, adjusting your life to them, and then extending the limits as allowed by the body. As you may know if you've looked at the pacing videos, pacing involves changing both what we do and what we think. Second approach is planned rest. Planned rest. Getting adequate amounts of the right kind of rest is the single most important pacing strategy, and it has its own video. Let me explain by contrasting planned rest with another kind of rest. You may know rest is a way to recover from overdoing. As such, it's part of the push and crash lifestyle, in which your life is lived in response to symptoms. You rest when the symptoms are strong, and you rush to get as much done as you can when the symptoms subside. We recommend that you use a different kind of rest, daily planned rest breaks. For most people who use them, scheduled rests reduce their symptoms, increase stability and control, and ironically lessen the amount of rest they need. The latter because you experience less post-exertional malaise. Many people with CFS and fibro do well with 1 or 2 rests a day of 10 to 30 minutes each. People with severe CFS or fibro often do better with short, frequent rests, something like 10 or 15 minutes every hour or 2. Third, keeping records. Keeping a health log usually takes only a few minutes a day, but it can help you in 3 ways. First, records are crucial to defining your limits, which is the basis for successful pacing. Second, records can help you to hold yourself accountable. Seeing in black and white the connection between overactivity and increased symptoms brings home the fact that activity levels affect symptoms. Third, records can be a source of motivation. Seeing how pacing reduces symptoms reinforces success and provides inspiration. I often say that the advice to keep a health log is the most important recommendation that you'll probably ignore. In our experience, people with CFS and fibro often resist logging. For example, when we offer a free 2-week class in logging, only about a quarter of the people who get the invitation accept. But ironically, about 90% of those who take the class rate it as very helpful and say that they plan to continue logging. So I hope you'll give logging a try sometime. We've got some sample logs on our main website. That's the CFIT Self-Help site at the bottom left corner there. And also articles there on how to get started. Fourth is listening to your body. Listening to your body. Many people with CFS and fibro have a tendency to respond to the onset of symptoms by pushing through. Listening to the body's signals is a different approach, one that can prevent problems, but it requires that we retrain ourselves. One person in our program told us that she's replaced the idea of work till done with the phrase, I stop when tired. That is, she went from a mental habit of saying, I have to get a job done, to saying to herself, when I'm tired, I stop. With that attitude, increases in symptoms are signs that it's time to take a break. I had an experience of this which drove home the idea of listening to my body. It happened one time when I was cooking chili. I was nearly finished, but suddenly I felt very weak and almost faint. My first response was to tell myself to push through and finish. But then I remembered that when I'd done that in the past in similar situations, I ended up having to lie down for 2 or 3 hours. So I told myself to turn off the heat under the chili and lie down for 15 minutes. I did that, and when I got up, I felt fine. I finished cooking the chili, and I got on with my day. So resting for 15 minutes saved me from spending 2 or 3 hours in bed. Fifth factor is assertiveness. This next one, assertiveness, is easy to say but often hard to do. Speaking up for yourself can prevent relapses for an obvious reason. If you stand up for yourself and your needs, you won't feel forced to go outside your limits. We have heard of many creative ways of being assertive. One we especially liked was the woman who used a 1 to 10 scale to communicate her symptoms to her family. A 1 meant as good as I used to be before I got sick, and a 10 meant I'll be spending all day in bed. When her family asks her to do something or to go somewhere, she responds with a number. For example, she might say, "I'm sorry, I can't do that today. I'm having a 7 day." Last factor is stress reduction and pleasure. Misspelled that. Stress reduction and pleasure. Stress is one of the biggest relapse triggers, so reducing it will help you prevent relapses. You can control stress in a variety of ways. People in our program usually use a variety of techniques, not just one, and they often include both stress reduction and stress avoidance. A typical stress management program might include a daily stress reduction practice, exercise, building supportive relationships, living by a schedule, and avoiding noisy environments and negative people. We also suggest that you include pleasurable activities in your life and even schedule them so that they occur every day. Having something to look forward to reduces frustration and makes it easier to live within limits. So there are 6 ways to prevent relapses. The next 2 videos will give you 2 relapse prevention success stories.